Now, how was he
And,
getting these CDs? You got to
uh,
tell us. You got to tell
to
Diamond
be
Nation how these
to
CDs
be
were
to
being
be to be
developed.
honest, I did not ask my supplier how he was getting the CDs. I kind of just knew. He admitted. He admitted.
Welcome, Diamond Nation. This is Salem here. I'm here with my co-host Sel. Welcome you to another edition of Africa Diamonds, where we have conversations with African changemakers, to people who are making positive change throughout our beautiful continent. Sel, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Salem. As usual, I am pumped. We are pumped for our interview today, our conversation today, Diamond Nation. We've got another treat for you. I feel like I say that all the time, but it's true all the time.
Of course.
That's why I say it all the time. And let me set the stage for you for our guest today. Now, most of us listening in here, most of Diamond Nation, we grew up in Africa. And if you grew up just like I did, you went to primary school, you went to junior secondary school, you went to senior secondary school, you almost, I can guarantee you, you met somebody who had an artistic skill that floored you. I mean, when they drew something, you couldn't shut your mouth. You were like, "Oh my goodness, where did you come from?" They just came out of the comic books, and they were just so good. But I bet you that you don't know many of those guys or girls who pursued that as a life work. They didn't pursue that as a career. And that I think is a unique thing to Africa, and we're gonna get into this with our call today. But our guest for you, our entrepreneur, our change maker that we're featuring today, is somebody who took the plunge. Not only with the gifting, but actually decided to create something around this gifting and is building an incredible business around his illustration gift. So I am excited. We've got a treat here for you. If you're an artist out there, if you know an artist, if you'd like to be an artist, even if you're not an artist of the drawing kind, but you're an artist who's just expressing yourself to the world, this call is going to encourage you and set you ablaze. And so I want to introduce to you Setor Fiadzigbey. He's just a fantastic founder. Seto, we're so excited you could join us. Go ahead and tell Diamond Nation what's new in your world.
Thank you very much, Solom. I must say that I am totally flattered by your introduction. I think I'm on cloud nine now. um, Thank you very much. Let me start with a little introduction of myself. I'm Setor Fiadzigbey. I am the co-founder and part owner of BZL Studios, which is a content production studio operating here out of Accra, Ghana. I am the last of four children, and I like to say that I was born with a pencil in my hand, and art has been my first love and has remained that way ever since. And now I am just grateful to God that I'm pursuing a career where I can daily commit myself to the advancement of art in any way possible. Um,
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
Okay.
Welcome to Africa's Diamonds.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's awesome,
Okay.
man. It's a pleasure to really have you here, Seto. One of the questions that I have for you is, at
Right.
what age or how early did you discover your artistic gift? You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between, I started also, I was drawing when I was a kid, but there's a difference between,
Okay.
doing the typical stick figures and one tree type of
Yeah.
thing versus
Yeah.
knowing that, oh my God, I actually have a gift. So how early was it that you discover, okay, I definitely have something
I,
going on here?
I think I think I was always I think I was actually blessed to be born into an artistic family. My
Okay.
The firstborn, who's a girl, was an artist. She actually pursued it through education, went to do fine art in the university. So I kind of had, in that sense, I kind of had a mentor, you could say. And then I just actually recently found out that my a distant uncle of mine was also a pretty renowned artist. So it's something that I think I was quite conscious of at a pretty early age, and also When I was born, that's when you could say things like animation and comic books were kind of really taking flight. And there was just a natural affinity for them, and it just kind of fed that desire to want to draw, to want to bring the things that I visualize into being. Yeah. So I think it's something. I mean, I remember even in my very earliest days, I'll take any piece of paper I could find and try to draw things from my imagination. To be honest, I've actually never been very good at drawing things from life. I've really always been more interested in drawing things from my imagination. So
Right.
even from the earliest moments, I kind of remember trying to draw characters from my mind, or trying to draw places that I probably dreamt about, or things like that. Yeah. So yeah, pretty early, I did get that indication, that feeling that art was for me. Yeah.
Got you.
Wow. That's really insightful. Like I was saying earlier, to Diamond Nation, a lot of people probably share some of your artistic gifting, but that's very, very good to know how it expresses itself. I have a follow-up here. In our pre-interview, our pre-interview process, you said that you went to school to do the
Yes.
sciences. And
Yes, I
then
did.
later on dived into your first love, art. Now,
Yes.
I would have thought that with your background, with your family background, with the
Yes.
encouragement you were getting at home, you would have just gone
Yes.
to school to study art. So why did you choose the sciences?
Actually, okay, so a part of the story I didn't add was, even though my sister actually did go on to pursue art education in the tertiary level, she actually had to go through a lot of resistance to do that. And I think it was a culture of the time, and our parents and our guardians, in trying to make sure that we grew up to live, lives that were not lives that could be described as successful and progressive. Um, just try to steer us away from things that they weren't sure would be able to help us to make a living. And at the time, and considering where we are, or where we were and where we still are, the likelihood that you could make a living of art was very, very low. And so
Yeah.
they didn't exactly discourage it. They encouraged it, but as as a hobby. All right.
Mm,
So they would say, all right, no, you should, go to school and pursue this, but you should also have a hobby, and you should have this thing. If it's art, it's art. If it's music, it's music. You shouldn't stop playing that, or you shouldn't stop drawing. But that's your hobby, and this is your profession, and there's supposed to be a difference. I think with the whole, I think with the whole shift in culture, and with the internet and with this new digital age, a lot of these barriers are beginning to come down, and so now people are beginning to find meaning, and realize that they can actually live meaningful lives pursuing careers that are in line with their hobbies, and things like that. Yes, so
Mm.
I think at the time it was more just you could say a defense mechanism to just ensure that um, our child didn't grow up a pauper, or dependent on other people. So the general consensus, or the general inclination, was to try to move you towards a career that they thought would bring you a living. And for me, to be honest with you, I actually enjoyed my period in the sciences. It's not like it was all doom and gloom at all.
hmm
I do actually have a very curious mind, I think. And actually, I don't, it's kind of funny, but I don't, now that I'm pursuing this, I don't really see that much difference between being an artist and being a scientist, in a
Hmm.
certain way. I mean, you do have to have a curious mind in both instances. You do have to be
hmm
imaginative in both, in both scenario. So yes, it did help me. It did favor me quite a lot by
Mm,
by pursuing science for a while.
mm.
Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit because I think you touched on some of what you know I would say the problem might be. You said about the fact that your family, in love and care for you, wanted you to have something more stable.
That's right. That's right.
But we just found out because you're stable now that is relative to the our worldview, the way we're seeing the world.
That's right.
Would you say on the ground, with boots on the ground in Africa and Ghana right now, where you reside, is that problem still prevalent? Are there a lot of young people who can't pursue their dreams, so to speak, because they have this pressure to do it a certain way?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think anyone who tries to do this is still kind of going against the grain. It's not. It's becoming something that is accepted, but it hasn't become something that is fully accepted yet. So there is a sense in which when you decide that you're going to go ahead and try and make a career in the arts, people are cautious. People are guarded. They are watchful. They are trying to see if it's going to work. I mean, even up to today, for me, people still ask me, "Are you going to go back into engineering?" And I tell them, "No,
Hmm.
no, I don't think so." So there's still that sense in which people are still kind of watchful, not too sure how it's going to turn out,
Mm-hmm.
and that's still the case. I think it has to do. I think it's a cultural thing that will have to shift eventually.
Okay.
But for the time being, that you will still find a bit of resistance. It has gotten much better since back in the day because I think now a lot more people are beginning to realize that nothing is actually stable, really. So if if really that which we thought was stable is not even very stable, I mean, why not take the chance and go ahead and try and pursue your dreams? And who knows, you might actually make it
Right.
going that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, the truth is, people are getting laid off, people are losing jobs, things are happening. You know? So the things that we thought were stable are no longer as stable.
Yep.
So there's that shifting mindset, that shifting culture. It hasn't really solidified itself here, but I think it's coming. It's coming. It's gradual, but it's coming.
Right.
Okay. What Seta, what helped you? Okay, in your specific case, because obviously you're um you're kind of an example of somebody who were able to kind of rise above the pressure that was coming from the family side. Talking to domination. Okay, some of our listeners throughout the world, or some in Africa more specifically, who are also experiencing the same thing, right? They have this entrepreneurial mindset to do something in the arts, but the family says, hey, you have to put food on the table. What specifically is something that helped you overcome that fear and the pressure that was coming for the family? If you can speak a little bit to Diamond Nation and tell them, okay, this is what I did.
Okay, so first of all, I don't think it's I don't think I'll say I completely overcame the fear. I mean, because I did for a while stay in the sciences, and I did what I thought was best by the family in doing that.
Mm,
So I can't completely say that I was absolved of that fear. And also at the time when it became, should I say, obvious to me that I was going to take this step in this different direction, I must say that my family became very, very supportive, and that's something
okay.
I don't
Hmm.
want people to leave here thinking that they weren't supportive and they're still not. At the time when it became necessary for me to take that step, they were very, very supportive, and I think they were supportive a lot more, probably because I'd actually also should I say tried it their way. I don't know if that makes sense. But I went this way. Well, you guys said I should do this and do that, and I did, and I went for it, and I got into the working world. I was working at the international airport here in Accra, in Ghana, as a trainee engineer, a trainee aircraft engineer, and then I kind of just got to that point where I knew I needed to make a choice. I was either going to keep doing this for the rest of my life and commit the rest of my life to it, or I was going to try to do what I felt I really wanted to do and what I felt I was called to do. So when that decision became clear to me, and I went back to the family and I told them, I really think I want to do this instead. Funny thing, actually, that happened. And this just goes to show that mothers actually know their sons very well. She came back and told me, I kind of knew you were going to do that. I don't know why. But I remember telling her that, this isn't really working for me. I want to, go and pursue something else in the arts. And her response to me was, no, I kind of suspected that you would do something like that at some point. So she was very down for it and very accommodating. Yeah.
Mothers know best, right?
Mothers know
that's
best.
True. That's
oh
true.
Man.
That's true.
All right. So, Setor, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
We're gonna get into the CD business. Let's get into the CD business. So in our pre-interview, you said one of your earliest memories of an entrepreneurial venture was trying to sell CDs in high school. I have so many pictures going through my mind right now.
I know,
but
right?
you tell us. You tell us what you did, how you did it.
I can imagine.
I know. Really... Give us the insights.
All right. So actually, what happened was, to be honest, the entrepreneurial person in the family is actually my elder brother. I started by saying that I am the last of 4 children, and there are two girls and then 2 boys. 2 girls come before, and then 2 boys afterwards. And my eldest brother at a point said to me, "Hey, why don't I try to get CDs for you to go and sell in school?" At the time I was in Fancy Pim school. To go and sell in school to your friends and the guys who would like to listen to rap and things like that. And I said, well, yeah, that's cool, because I know I know in school, you don't, there's really nowhere. And because we're also in Cape Coast, which is not in the capital city, in Accra, it just makes it all the more harder to get, new CDs and, new tracks to listen to whilst there.
Right.
And so I said, yeah, why not? Let's just try it. And so he was my supplier.
Now, how was he getting these CDs? You got to tell us. You got to tell Diamond Nation how these CDs were being developed.
To be honest, I did not ask my supplier how he was getting CDs. I kind of just knew. He had always been this kind of person who always knew how to get things done, So, and he had always been into music also. So I just knew that after a while, there'll be CDs in the house, sometimes music CDs, sometimes movie CDs, and we'll watch and we'll enjoy. Sometimes you take them back. Sometimes, they are in the house. I presume it means that they were bought, things like that. So yeah, I would get the CDs from him. I'll take them to school. And I really didn't have to do that much marketing now that I think about it, because, you're selling rap, the latest rap and hip hop CDs.
Right.
You're selling them to boys who want it. It's a perfect demand and supply situation. There's already demand. You're just supplying, and you're just getting your money. Yeah. So that happened for a very short while. I must admit, for a very short while.
How much money do you think you made?
Oh, I can't remember now.
Come on.
Now.
You gotta give us some more.
I really cannot remember now. I don't know how much we used to sell those CDs for, but I know that they couldn't have been too much, because we were selling to boys who were in school, senior high school.
The glory days, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Indeed.
Well,
Indeed.
Settle, kind of transitioning more into the art. Okay, coming back into when you started doing your illustrations. More, let's say now you're doing them more professionally. What would you say is, because you touched on this earlier, you talked about that you do more drawing out of creativity from your mind than real life
Yeah.
design. Okay,
Yeah.
what would you say is your inspiration? Like, where does your inspiration come from? By the way, Domination, you guys should definitely go and see some of his work because I mean, it's just sometimes me and Sal were asking ourselves like, how do you just come up with this stuff? Because I was just thinking to myself like, it's not things you see normally every day in Africa.
Mm.
So what is your inspiration process?
I don't actually have a fixed process. I must admit it could quickly. It usually goes from chaos to control. If I'm being completely honest.
Okay.
The inspiration could come from anywhere. I'm a staunch believer in the Bible, and I read it quite often. And sometimes inspiration comes from there. I read something and I just get visuals, and from there it's really just one step after the other, adding, subtracting, until I get a visual that I think best sells the idea. And then I just get to it. Sometimes it's a dream. You sleep, you wake up, you have. I'm sure everybody experiences it. You dream about something. It makes such an impression on you. You either see someone or see some place that you've probably never seen, or just a combination of different places that you've been to, and you just wish that you could show it to other people. And so then there's that also. And then sometimes just having conversations with other people. They say things. I think I got to a point I realized that my brain naturally visualizes things. I thought it was the same for everybody. And so I met people who told me, no, that's not the case. And I think I realized it when I realized that there were times I would be narrating certain stories or certain scenarios to people, and I would ask something like, "Oh, didn't you see that? Like, didn't you?" I'm narrating it as if it's a movie that I'm assuming the person should have watched, but then I kind of get to the point where, oh no, this was in my own world, my own mind. So I kind of draw inspiration from everywhere and anywhere, really.
Okay.
There isn't one place that I could say that I draw inspiration from. Maybe that's why.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. I'm kind of curious a little bit in terms of where you guys, because you talked a little bit on, as we're doing the pre-interview process about doing some content in a creative studio, and we wanted to know a little bit more on the business side of things as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Where do you guys usually get most of your work? For example, where do you produce most of your work, and where you guys have been putting out a lot of your work?
Okay, so actually, for the past in fact, since the company began, even though our primary business is to produce content that is company owned, and then so the primary business is to be a content production studio, so producing content that is created by the company, and then the secondary business is to help other people create their content.
Okay.
What's happened for the past 2 years since the company has been established, since we're in our second year, we just passed the second year, sorry, is that we've actually been helping other people create content. And to that end, we've actually made very solid relationships with advertising agencies, with publishers, and with other people who create content on a daily basis.
Right.
So we've partnered with, we've worked on projects for companies such as Nestle and MTN, that's a big telecom company here in Ghana.
That's great. Yeah.
And others, but we've worked with the advertising agencies in developing content for them. We provide guiding illustrations, sometimes storyboards and things like that for them to be able to visualize whatever it is that they need to be able to go for it. So we kind of find ourselves in the production process of things. Usually in pre-production, where we sit down and thrash out ideas with copywriters and art directors and creative directors and such, so that they can get a firm grasp on whatever projects that they need to go forward with. Lately, though, we are trying, or we've been trying to kind of transition into what we believe our primary business is, which is to create content, our own content. And we have titles like The Mischievous Adventures of Kezzy and Mosey,
right?
And some other interesting projects that are in the pipeline that I can't really talk about now.
Okay.
You can tell us. You can tell us. You won't tell anybody.
I wish I could. and things like that. So that's basically the two sides of the business: creating content that is owned by the company and helping other players in the industry also create their own content for their clients and such.
That's awesome.
Right. How big is your team right now?
Actually, I like to describe Digital Studios as more like a creative hub where we engage other creatives in helping to produce the work.
Okay. So your collaboration
at any given time.
Platform, yeah.
Exactly. And so far that has worked wonderfully for us, because we are a young company and we're starting out, and I think it's just there's a sense in which it just makes more sense to be able to build some of these teams, so that whenever there is a project, whenever there is the need for a certain kind of specialty, you can just call on the person, and the person comes to help us to produce the work and deliver. So there isn't a fixed number, honestly, that I can give you. It depends on the project at hand, and we are usually able to mobilize the resources to be able to pull it off. Yeah.
What's the biggest project you guys have had so far?
So far, actually, I think the biggest project is probably in the pipeline currently, so I can't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
So far, well, if things pan out the way we hope, this would probably end up being one of the biggest projects that we've embarked on. Well, big. There are two kinds of big, if you permit me. There's big that is, well, this is for a big client, so you kind of need to make sure that you get it right and you don't mess up anywhere.
Right.
And then there's big, which is, well, it's not necessarily for a big client, but it's a lot of work. All right. So
yeah.
I would say in terms of big, the kind that you can't mess up, it's when we were called upon to provide what can be described as an illustration archive for a meeting of African entrepreneurs, and they were meeting here in Ghana at the Labadi Beach Hotel, and you had the likes of, well, this was a seminar, a conference that was that they expected the likes of Mo Ibrahim and others, and for me that was a kind of thing that we couldn't mess up. Actually, if I remember correctly, what they wanted was what can be described as a graphical representation of the events of the conference. Yes, so they wanted this kind of an art piece to be done at the end of the conference, which kind of sums up all of the major things that were discussed at the conference and the spirit of the conference, and
that's real interesting.
That was a pretty interesting project. Yeah.
I don't think I've heard. I mean, I'm sure I've seen things like that before, like the Supreme Court would have, or the courts would have an artistic expression of the court proceedings.
Right.
How did you get that kind of job? I can imagine that must have been a hotly contested job, or gig.
Well,
How did BZL Illustrations get that?
actually, it was because of our working relationship with one of our ad agencies. So
Ah,
they had they actually an international ad agency, and they were the ones kind of helping to organize the project, or they knew the people who were organizing the project, and so the people requested someone like this, and we said, oh well, we work with this company on all of our major clients' portfolios. So they think they can handle it, and we were contacted and it was gotten. So it wasn't as hotly contested as you can
okay.
imagine. It was more an issue of the people not knowing whether the skill was even available here, because before the alternative was to fly in somebody from Germany to
My
come in
word.
and do it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So it was just really, I consider it God's grace and guidance that helped
Right.
us to get that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I can imagine that being a very prestigious project and working with all these entrepreneurs, and I don't know how many times they gather, but to have the chance to illustrate
Not
one of
many.
the gatherings, yeah, that's
Not
pretty.
yeah, because I don't actually. It was such a small conference, such a really um, compact conference of very successful African entrepreneurs.
Right.
People who are actually doing things that that was changing the landscape of
Mm.
Africa. And so I think I don't really. I think this was the second time or the third time that they were organizing it ever. And if I remember correctly, I think the past German chancellor was the one who was actually chairing the meeting. So it was a
Wow.
pretty high level meeting, yes.
Wow.
And
That's
I was it was a privilege to be called upon
right.
to do the representation of that.
I think Seto, it was maybe fitting or maybe sending you a message as you're coming with a very different skill set than maybe most people in the room, but you're in the same room with other entrepreneurs who are also
Exactly.
change makers. Isn't that fitting? I,
Exactly.
I just find it that like I just couldn't go away from that. I'm like, that's awesome.
I think it is fitting, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought.
Yeah.
You know. And they
Wow.
probably didn't have any idea, but they were in the presence of greatness just as equally as you were in the
It's
presence of
exactly
greatness.
exactly.
It's true. Sometimes you're in a space, and I'm sure Diamond Nation experiences this. You're in a space, and you're looking around. You're like, you know what? And not in a prideful way, but you're like, I hold my own, and I'm glad I'm here, and I'm learning a lot. I'm absorbing. I'm growing, but I fit here. I'm not out of place. You
I
know what I mean?
belong,
It's
right?
it's you belong. You know.
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Wow.
We're gonna have to, hey Salem, we're gonna have to connect with that agency, that ad
Exactly.
agency, man. Get us a pipeline in there, right? Diamond
Exactly.
Nation, come
My
on.
God.
Somebody say amen to that.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Seto, as we kind of go on towards the end here of our time with Diamond Nation, one of the things I want to know, okay, if you had to give an advice, I'm a big fan of giving people practical steps on things they can do to also achieve the type of success that you've seen yourself. So if
Yeah.
there's anything specifically that you can, for example, I like to say three books or audio content or any film or movie, three things that you can give or give resources um, to Diamond Nation, to anybody out there, especially somebody in our artistic field, somebody who wants to do something with art and maybe with family, like you experienced, you got to make money to feed the house, and they're not so sure. What are three things or three books that well, we'll put it differently, okay? We'll say three things and three resource that you could be able to encourage and inspire Diamond Nation with.
free resources. That's quite interesting. Okay, so I look at entrepreneurship and the pursuing of your dream a bit differently. I think it's a lot of it. I think depends on the development of the individual. So I kind of try to find material that help me to develop, or that helps general development of the individual. Because if you could have a very great idea, but if you're not a disciplined person, it's not going to happen. So it's not
Right.
really about the idea, it's about your character or your ability to be disciplined or to be focused, or to have that kind of vision to stay on the course. So I particularly like to just find things that help me to stay on course. And in that light, I couldn't say this enough. I know that for me, the Bible has been a very big influence in my life. Some of the principles that I have and that I use in my business actually come from the Bible directly. I don't alter them or change them in any way. I would also I picked up a book about 3 years ago called Ordering Your Private World. I think I should have it in my library somewhere. I think it's by Mr. McDonald. It's a very good book, and it talks about how to make sure that you can keep it talks about your secret life or your private life, and making sure that it's in order, because if that's in order, then what's on the outside will also fit in. And I find more and more as you go ahead in life that you will get the opportunities. You will get the opportunities to become better, to become more successful. It will come down to how you are ordering your life and your private life at that. So there's also that. Aside that, I actually just anybody who's going to help me, I just take the time to listen to. And if that person says it enough times, I will just subscribe on YouTube or podcast or something and listen to them. I know that one of the people that I follow quite closely, even though he's passed away, is C.S. Lewis. I think I find myself kind of towing that line. He being a Christian and yet a fantasy person as well, writing the Chronicles of Narnia, things like that. I find him to be an inspiration in my life, and I try to pay attention to his teachings, because he does write a lot of very interesting books, Mere Christianity and things like that, which I find very, very informative. So that's it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, C.S. Lewis, I can see that connection there. Diamond Nation, if you don't know who C.S. Lewis is, he is a famed author, wrote a lot of the great fantasy stuff you've been seeing in movies recently, and I can see that connection, Seto. So basically what you just said, I'm going to summarize what you just said, right? Okay. That last bit there. What Setor Fiadzigbey is telling you, Diamond Nation, is you should subscribe to Africa's Diamonds.
That's right. That's actually that's right.
That's exactly what he just said. Right. No, well, we are so honored to have this time with you, Setor. It was incredibly fascinating to hear your story, hear your approach to creativity and life, and your inspirations. And Diamond Nation, we're gonna have all those resources that he mentioned. We're gonna have them available to you. We encourage you, as Salem said earlier in our conversation here, you need to go check out Setor's work.
Right.
You go over to bzlillustration.com and you get all that information. We're going to have that, again, linked below this podcast here for you. You've got to go check it out. You've got to support the incredible work he's doing over there in Ghana with his team. If you're an artist and you like to check it out, communicate with him. As he said, he's building a collaboration hub. So if you'd like to collaborate, go on over there. We're going to post his Twitter handle. You can find him at Setorfia, which is SETORFIA. It's just, you've got to work with this guy if you're an artist. If you want to do things on the continent and art, you've got to check his work out and work with him. It's a must. So Setor, thank you so much for your time, man. This was very enlightening and encouraging.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I wish we could do this sometime again.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're gonna hit you back up, and then this time we're gonna ask you for specific revenue numbers.
Yes.
So,
No problem.
Yes.
No problem.
we'll bring you back season 2 or 3.
My book's ready here for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a great day. Diamond Nation. Stay inspired. Go do good work.